The throne room of the Zathari Empire fell silent as Queen Velshara rose from her obsidian seat, her four eyes widening in disbelief. Before her stood a figure she had mourned for 3 cycles, her daughter, Commander Arabella, alive and flanked by the most unlikely companion imaginable, a human. Impossible, the queen whispered, her voice echoing through the crystalline halls. You fell at the siege of Krondar. I received your distress beacon. We found your ship's wreckage. Arabella stepped forward, her chitinous armor scarred but intact, her violet skin paler than her mother remembered. I survived, Mother, but I would not be standing here without him. She gestured to the human beside her, a broad-shouldered male with brown hair and surprisingly calm eyes, given that he stood in the heart of an alien empire that had been at war with his species. For a decade. This is Brody, Arabella said simply. The queen's mandibles clicked in agitation. A human. You bring a human into our sacred halls? They are our enemies, Arabella. They are the reason you nearly died. They are also the reason I'm alive, Arabella countered, her voice steady. The assembled courtiers erupted in murmurs, their translucent wings vibrating with shock. Brody remained still, his posture respectful but unafraid. Queen Velshara had heard the stories of human resilience, their stubborn refusal to yield even when logic demanded surrender. But she had never stood face to face with one before. Explain yourself, the queen commanded, her tone sharp as a plasma blade. Arabella's expression softened with memory. After the battle, my escape pod crashed on Krondar 7, a dead moon neither side bothered to claim. My suit was damaged. My oxygen reserves were critical. I had ours, perhaps less. She paused, glancing at Brody. Then he found me. Brody spoke for the first time, his voice carrying the peculiar roughness of human speech. I was part of a reconnaissance team. Our ship took damage too. When I picked up her beacon, my team wanted to leave her, said she was probably a trap. He met the queen's gaze without flinching. I couldn't do that. Why? Velshara demanded. We are enemies. Our fleets have destroyed countless human colonies. Why would you save my daughter? Brody's jaw tightened. Because she was dying, and I could help. Seemed pretty simple to me. The queen's translator struggled with the human's casual inflection, but the meaning was clear. She studied him with renewed interest. Humans were supposed to be cunning, selfish creatures who prioritized their own survival above all else. This one spoke as if compassion were instinctive. He repaired my suit using parts from his own. Arabella continued. Shared his rations even though it meant he'd run short. When his team refused to pick him up because he wouldn't leave me behind, he stayed anyway. You abandoned your own people. One of the courtiers hissed at Brody. They abandoned me, Brody corrected. But yeah, I stayed. We jury-rigged a long-range transmitter from wreckage. Took us 47 days to get it working. 47 days, the queen repeated slowly. You survived together for 47 days on a lifeless moon. Arabella nodded. We had nothing but time to talk, to understand each other. Mother, everything we've been told about humans, that they're barbaric, that they lack honor, that they cannot be reasoned with, its propaganda. Just like everything they've been told about us. The throne room erupted again. Velshara raised one taloned hand, and silence crashed down like a physical force. You expect me to believe that this human risked his life, abandoned his military, and survived impossible odds purely out of kindness? Not just kindness, Brody interjected. Curiosity too. Your daughter taught me about Zathari music, philosophy, your history. I taught her about Earth, about jazz and baseball, and why humans laugh when they're nervous. He smiled slightly. Turns out we're not that different. Both our species fight for survival. Both value family. Both tell stories around fires or whatever the local equivalent is. He's right, Mother, Arabella said. The war started over a misunderstanding at the Epsilon relay. Each side thought the other fired first. We've been killing each other for a decade over a mistake, and neither side has bothered to actually communicate. Queen Velshara descended from her throne, her movements deliberate. She circled Brody, examining him as one might study a fascinating specimen. He stood his ground, though she could see the tension in his shoulders. You understand, she said softly, that if I accept your story, if I acknowledge that a human saved my daughter, I acknowledge that we may be fighting an unjust war. Yeah, Brody said. I know, and if I reject your story, I must execute you as an enemy combatant and punish my daughter for consorting with humans. Mother, no, Arabella began. The queen held up a hand. But if I do neither, if I instead consider the possibility that both our peoples have been blind. She turned to face her court. Then everything changes. She extended one long, elegant hand toward Brody. The human stared at it for a moment, then carefully grasped it with his own much smaller fingers. You saved my daughter's life, Velshara said. By our oldest laws, that creates a debt that can never be fully repaid. But perhaps we can begin with peace talks. The court exploded in protest and support in equal measure. Arabella's relief was visible in every line of her body. Brody simply nodded, as if he'd expected nothing less. One human and one Zathari. The queen continued, her voice rising above the chaos. Survived together when both should have died. They learned to understand each other when everything told them it was impossible. If they can do this, perhaps our peoples can as well. She looked at Brody with new respect. Tell me, human, are there more like you? Brody smiled, a peculiarly human expression that showed teeth. Billions, your majesty. And most of them are a lot more diplomatic than me, for the first time in 3 cycles. Queen Velshara allowed herself to hope. Perhaps her daughter's return carried more than just personal joy. Perhaps it carried the seeds of peace. Then let us begin, she said.